Hey guys, this is Manafest, and you're listening to the I'm a Fighter podcast, episode number 16.
It's too late, it's my fate, I can't turn around. There's no fear in the mirror to hold me down.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another I'm a Fighter podcast, where we want to entertain, inspire, and educate. And remember, a fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. Well, I am so stoked because today, for the first time, I've got a guest on this podcast. I am interviewing my co-writer and friend, Shannon Constantine Logan. We're going to be talking about the fighter book. We're going to be talking about her story. She was a Muay Thai, I'm totally messing that up, kickboxer, and jiu-jitsu. She's a writer, entrepreneur, and just super talented and has a really powerful story. So you guys are going to love this. Get inspired and get ready. Let's jump into it right now. Well, thanks for being willing to let me chat with you for this podcast. You're the official first interview. Oh my gosh, crazy.
Woo!
And
that is crazy.
It's been really cool. We've been getting a really good response, and people are just getting really inspired by it. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I'm used to being on the other end getting interviewed, so it's kind of funny, being on this end asking questions or whatever, but it's really just talking in the end of the day. But I just thought it'd just be so cool because, we wrote the book together and did all that, and, I just wanted to thank you too, because it's just been such an awesome response from it, and this is kind of like jumping off of the fighter book to kind of do this podcast to now kind of have a weekly thing to encourage people and inspire people to chase after their dreams, kind of like what we did with the book.
Definitely. I'm glad to do it.
Yeah, no, super rad. And I just kind of wanted to give people kind of a semi intro, like, because when we were writing the book together and stuff, so I got to know you a little bit better. And I remember one night you shared your story about the whole Thai kickboxing, if I'm correct. Like, you were like a champion, and like, I don't know if you did a lot of traveling. I know you won a ton of awards, and I wonder if you could just kind of speak into that and just share a bit of your story there.
Yeah, I actually, I did do Thai kickboxing. I did Muay Thai for a short while, but then I switched over to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I did BJJ for about 7 years, and I trained with Renzo Gracie in New York.
Okay.
And I got to be a purple belt. I still did boxing on the side. I did judo. I did wrestling. So I was just always involved in a lot of different martial arts all at once. But my main thing was BJJ. But yeah, I did it for about 7 years, and I was competing internationally. I took a gold medal in the Pan Ams in 2003, I believe.
Yeah.
And then I was looking for the next challenge, so I decided to take an MMA fight. And actually, somebody interviewed me the other day that got in touch with me, like kind of looking to see where me and the other fighter, where we were now, since it was so long ago. Yeah. And he goes, "You guys are the first female sanctioned MMA fight in New Jersey." And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was so concentrating on training that I literally, I didn't even realize I was breaking ground. Like, literally, we were the first women to step into an octagon in New Jersey. Yeah, so I felt super honored. I lost that fight, but that's besides the point. The point was I guess I was a pioneer in the sport, and
Seriously?
I was so. Yeah, it was actually kind of a big honor. So, and then I went on to assistant coach a women's wrestling team in Oregon, and I went to college. So, but yeah, I injured out. I tore my ACL, and I officially retired about 7 years ago. So.
Okay, wow, yeah, because I remember you telling me that. And just before we get into that, how old were you when you started Thai kickboxing and the Muay Thai and all that stuff? Like, when did you start? I'm just curious.
I started probably around 19 or 20.
Okay.
So a little bit of a late start. I would have started earlier, but I remember I wanted to do karate when I was younger, and it was like maybe a summer, and I was staying with my grandparents, and my grandmother said no because she was like, "That's for boys. You should take gymnastics or ballet instead." And so I was forced into taking gymnastics, which I was terrible at, and I always had this deep feeling that I wanted to do, martial arts. But it took me a long time, and then I was traveling abroad. I was living in Japan actually, and and I ended up meeting these kickboxing instructors, and I started kickboxing over there. And then when I came to the States, I looked up a martial arts school and started training again. And then in the same school, like next to the Muay Thai, area, was Henzo's, like, I don't know, one of his earliest academies. It was like kind of crammed in this weird space in Manhattan. And I kept looking over and I was like, God, it looks like it's really complicated and like I might get hurt. And then they were like, no, it's really like a chess game. Like, jiu-jitsu is like, a thinking man's game. It's very strategic. You won't get hurt. You just have to learn how to train properly. And then I tried it and totally fell in love. So then it like took over my life.
Yeah, too, because like you started late, but you must have been like so dedicated and just hardcore and just kind of like
super dedicated. Yeah. And when I switched careers, I went from BJJ over to wrestling. It's because they had put women's wrestling in the Olympics, and I thought, well, here's my shot.
Okay.
So I wanted to take my career and go to the next level. But unfortunately, my joints weren't on board for that. So,
I just think it's so right. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what, age. You can, like, even if you're starting late or feel like you're starting late at something, you can still, if you're dedicated, you can, it just depends, I guess, how strong of a passion, how much you put into something, what you kind of get out of it, and just seeing how, like, far you launched from, like, 19. I think actually it's funny, that's when I started music when I was 18, 19, which is a bit of a start late. But again, just
had the
passion, and just kind of kept at it. And people, sometimes give up sometimes or whatever, and don't push on. But could you share a little bit? Because I remember when I don't know if we were writing the Perseverance chapter or which one it was, but I remember you were just kind of sharing how much, like, the title of the book, Fighter, how it kind of connected, and you said how it kind of, you did get hurt and you were kind of discouraged for a little bit, and I don't know if what you felt like giving up, or you just weren't sure, you were kind of in a bit of maybe a dark place or something like that. I wouldn't mind if you speak on that, and then what you did to kind of overcome that and to kind of keep going. And I think you said you started to go into writing or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, just like with anything, we choose to express ourselves with, that it takes over your life the way that music has for you, the way that, martial arts did for me, is that when you can no longer express yourself through that means, you go a little nuts, your whole identity changes, because you're like, well, then who am I if I can't sing? Who am I if I can't dance? Who am I if I can't fight? A lot of who we believe we are is wrapped up in what we do. So, when I got injured, I had a choice. I should, the doctor said, we can reconstruct your knee, but it's not guaranteed to be better. He was like, there's no quick fix for knees. He was like, or you can choose physical therapy and some, like, non-invasive, and then just stop training 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
So I had to make a pretty big life decision there, just like you did, but, right around the end of your skateboarding career, you injured out.
Yeah.
So major identity crisis after that. So I was like, okay, I'll go to college and or continue going to college and focus on something else. But I had to reconstruct my entire, like, identity pretty much. Good place to do that is college, actually. So I was in the right place, to go like, okay, well, where do I want to take my life next? But I had a really hard time with it mentally. I remember there, even like movies that featured female fighters, like I think $1 Million Baby had come out like right around that same time. Like I wouldn't go. I was actually so heartbroken that I couldn't express myself in this way anymore, because I had such a great run with it. Like I really had a great run with it. That I was like semi heartbroken over it. I didn't want to see anybody else doing it if I couldn't do it, and be the best at it in the world.
Wow.
So yeah, I had a hard time, so I had to push through it. But it didn't seem like a big deal at the time. But now that I look back, I go, oh yeah, I had to reconstruct everything. But I started focusing on writing. You know, I had always been like a really strong writer. And then when I went to school, I said, you know, let me just push in this direction and see what happens. And like consistently, all of my college professors were like, "You're the strongest writer in the class." You know, people in the class would come up and be like, "If you write a book, I'm going to be your first fan." Like yeah, like I had the dean come up to me and was like, "You're going to be a journalist, right? Because you really need to be, you know, really need to be working doing this." So I had all this encouragement just from the universe at large, and I thought, you know, this is what I need to pour myself into next. You know, and. Yeah. So, but yeah, you have to like push. You know, it could take a long time. You know, at the end of something to reconstruct. There's this point where you're floating around and you're totally lost. So yeah, I guess it does take perseverance to get through those moments.
Too. Like I'm sure you had that talent and stuff, but it's probably, you know, I'm sure you still had to sit down and like not force it out, but you had to work at it a bit too.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's not like it's just like, oh, here's the hidden talent. I am amazing. And just kind of sit back and whatever I write is just, you know, like, I'm sure you have to...
No, yeah, it takes many, many years. Yeah, I mean, you're basically starting all over. It's so funny in life, you know, you get these points where you started, and you can recognize them too. You're like, here I am. I'm starting all over again. You know, like you're back at square one. And it could be disheartening. And some people, I think, they don't ever get past these moments, or they avoid them for their entire life, and they just do one thing. Like I decided the other day, I decided in December, I was like, my New Year's resolution for this year was that I was going to learn how to play cello. I wanted to pick up an instrument for like the first time in my life. Right. And so, you know, I go to this store and I get this cello, and one of the guys in the repair section comes up and he goes, "Hey," he goes, "I'm a guitar player. I've been playing guitar for 30 years, and I think it's so brave that you play cello or learning how to play cello." He goes, "I'm scared to do it." He was like, "I've been playing guitar for 30 years. Like, you can't get a good sound out of a cello for a really long time." He goes, "I'm too scared to learn it." Oh. He literally said that. Like, he had been avoiding getting to that point where you're starting over again, like where you're back at square one. He's been avoiding it for 30 years. Yeah. So he only plays one instrument when he could play many, but he doesn't want to be a beginner again. So those points are really scary, and life will force you back into them. If you can avoid it for a long time, but at some point you're going to have to be back at square one with something, you know, and it's going to take years, to get good at it.
Yep. Yeah, it's the constant thing of just learning and growing, and you know, the only thing that stays the same is change, and I think we need to embrace it more often. And you know, my wife got me an acoustic guitar a couple of years ago for my birthday because I was going to learn, and honestly, friends come over and they pick it up and like, "Oh, can I play that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you might as well play it because I haven't been playing it. I haven't been learning it." And it's frustrating because I really like it. I really appreciate the instrument, and I have learned songs before, but I never pushed through that like barrier. I think one time I finally learned how to play one of my songs a bit, but then I tried singing at the same time or rapping, and it was like it just all fell apart, and it was just like, this is just not working. But you know,
one thing at a time.
Yeah, taste of my own medicine. Well,
but also, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go, please.
I was going to say also, certain things, you know, they have their season in your life, you know, and you're good at them for a period of time, and then when it's time to go, you have to go. You know, it's like sports, great for your teens and your 20s, and maybe even, you know, early to mid-30s, but after that, your body is like, what are we doing, you know? So, you know, things have a season in your life as well, and it's also recognizing, but go ahead.
I just speaking to that too, like I'm still skateboarding right now, even though I'm, you know, now almost 35, but I've been surfing with some guys down in San Clemente, and they're like in their 50s, 60s, like late 60s. And I'm thinking to myself, I need to really switch over to this because it's something I can do for a longer time.
For a long time, yeah.
My you know, body's going to wear down and stuff. Before you go, I wanted to you share just maybe a couple more things, because like you're an entrepreneur and you kind of have your hands in a couple of things. Like I know we met through the book, Ryan Blair, that you guys wrote, and I'm blanking out how I went from nothing to lose, everything to gain.
Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Yeah.
I went from gang member to multimillionaire, and I just got like I was on vacation with my mom and sister were down here visiting us, and I went and bought the book at a library, and I just could not put it down. Like I think I read it in like 3 days, seriously, and then he thanked you at the end, or no, you thanked him at the end, and I'm sure he thanked you too. Wait, I'm missing that. He thanked you because whatever. Anyway, I'm mixing that up. But and then I just contacted you. I just Googled you, and I, we came to know each other. And not only were you a writer, but you do movie making, and you have your hand in a bunch of stuff. Do you mind just sharing what you're involved in, and just the idea of being like a woman in business, kicking butt, being an entrepreneur? There's just, I don't know, you could probably share so much right there.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because you and I met through that book, but you emailed me, and then and then my phone dialed you from inside my purse, and I heard a voice from inside my bag, and I picked it up, and my phone had called you from inside my purse, from inside an email. It was so random, and I was like, okay, that's fine. But I've done a lot of things with my life, not just helping authors like Ryan and you get your first books out there. I decided about 3 years ago that I wanted to try my hand at producing. So actually got roped into a production, like a music video a friend of mine was doing, and I was like, hey, I'll be your PA, like I'll just help out. And they were like, no, we lost a producer, actually, can you produce it? And I just fell in. Yeah, I just fell into it, and I was like, sure. It turned out it was like 5 locations in one day, and it was like 50 plus extras. We had this bike swarm at the end with all these bicyclists. I mean, it was kind of a big starting point, Yeah. But we pulled it off. The video looked amazing, and we had a big party afterwards and a screening. And then I was like, well, I really like that, I like making things happen, which is what producers basically do, as you know, being musicians. So from there, I did 2 more music videos. I've got one in post-production right now for a Disney actress. Cool. And then I also produced a movie which is also in post-production. It takes a very long time. So that should be coming out hopefully by this fall. But we will see. Movies are kind of unpredictable. But being a woman in business, I think these days, I think these days, you can do whatever it is that you want to do. I mean, women have been nurturing men's dreams, I think, for many, many centuries. And now we're like, hey, we have dreams too, So, yeah. So it's good. But I think for women, it's like follow your intuition. We've been blessed with certain instincts, and we have them for a reason, so don't discount them. You can carry that over into business. That'd be my advice for women, is a lot of times our first impression can be, like a very strong instinctual one, and we just have these sense about things. And I think that we need to honor it always and listen to it, and it will guide us in the right direction. And then never give up the fight. There's I know you said that was the theme of this podcast, but, every day you have to fight. You can't, there's never a point where you're relaxing. I learned this in martial arts, I learned it in business, is that every single day you get up and you fight with yourself, You fight with inertia. You go a couple rounds, with your script. You sit down in front of your computer. You fight with lawyers, agents, managers, every day. It never stops. There's never a day when you wake up and you're like, oh, I think I'll just take the day off today. It's going to be an easy day. Yeah. Even when things are going well, you're still fighting. So you have to get used to it. You can't just, you have to be on all the time. Stuff doesn't just happen. Like, you have to make it happen. Yeah. And so, we think it's hard, and then we think something's going wrong. We're like, well, why is it so hard? And it's like, well, that's just the way it is. It's always hard. So, but yeah.
Yeah, nothing comes for free as far as that, but it's always, the reward is just so awesome. It's so fulfilling when you do push through and you do get a victory or you do get a win. It's just the raddest thing, and you're like, oh, I got to do that again. It's almost, I don't want to say addictive, but like, when you feel like you've killed something or won something or just conquered something, that just adrenaline or feeling that you created something is just awesome. And you just killed it, Shannon. That was just so awesome. It's so encouraging. And I just want to share one thing before we end this. Is just, I love the whole thing of intuition that women have, because my wife gets that all the time, because she does her own business stuff too, and she's always speaking into me, and we're a real team working together, and I need to listen to her intuition and her heart more often. Probably would have made a lot less mistakes, and it's just so funny,
We'll steer you in the right direction. Yeah.
It's so true.
We have different talents than men, yeah, for sure. But go ahead.
No, it's true. We do, but it works together when we balance each other out, I think, and just we think differently and see different things that like guys just don't see. It's just like, oh, that's good that we're different, and we can just put the puzzle together in a different way, but going for the same goal. But I can't thank you enough for taking the time to interview. This is the first one, and I just think people are really going to love this, and really encouraged. If you're still listening out there, hey, we believe in you guys, and thank you so much. But do you want to leave a website or anything like that for people to get in contact, or just Google you or anything like that? Or? I'm
probably kind of a confusing online presence because I'm a little bit everywhere, it's like, but I'm consistently on Facebook and LinkedIn. So if somebody contacts me or friends me through there, I'll always get in touch. It's totally fine. It's like those are my hubs. But yeah, I wanted to also say thank you for, taking a chance to work with me and write the book. And I'm so happy that it got such great reviews and such a great response from your fans, and that they really support, what we created together. So I'm super excited about that for you.
So there it is, the interview with Shannon, Constantine, Logan. I hope you were inspired, both men and women out there, to dream big and to go for it. Start your own business, start your own dream. You don't even have to wait until you're done college. You don't have to wait if you feel like you started late. I think it's just so funny how she started kickboxing at around 18, 19, and that's also when I started music, which is kind of late. But it doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. The point is that you start. And for a special, because we're talking about the Fighter book, and she was writing on this, we're giving a huge discount when you use the code FIGHTERBOOK upon checkout when you go to the Manafest store, which is manafest.net/store, giving 20% off the Fighter book. Just use the code FIGHTERBOOK. Really creative, right? To get that. But I just want to thank you guys for listening, for being so awesome. All my fighters out there that got big dreams, that want to do great things. Just never quit, man. You know the theme here, man. A fighter isn't someone who never fails. A fighter is someone who never quits. And I just hope you've been really inspired by this show. And if you have, go to iTunes and leave a review and leave a comment. That would be huge in helping this podcast get seen. And also, I'm starting to take your questions now, so you can be featured on this episode. Just go to speakpipe.com/manifest. So that's speakpipe.com/manifest. Well, hey, the song I want to feature in this episode is Bring the Ruckus.
If you wanna bring the ruckus, turn it up a notch. free. No, I ain't